There are different trails, but they all lead to the truth. Follow, 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 follow. Welcome back to another episode of Rabbit Trails, where you never know where we may go. Welcome back to the show. So glad to be here. So today we're going to be talking about financial literacy and how important it is, the benefits of a trust, and we're going to be talking about insurance policies. And today we have a guest, one of my favorite people, Bob.
Hey, what's going on?
To me, it's Baba. To you, Chris. Put some respect on it. Okay. so, I just want to start off with saying, how it is important. I'm just going to jump into it. A lot of people want money. A lot of people, want to be rich and, like the nice, finer things in life. But do we know how to save up? Sometimes you have to go broke, not go broke, but sometimes you have to act broke because even when you got it, you don't have it. And you have to have that mindset because if you're saving up money and you're steady pensioning it, you're steady going in it, you're steady going shopping, you're steady going out to eat, you're steady living above your means and trying to keep up with the Joneses and you want all the hot shit, okay? And then the money's gone, the money's spent or spent even before you get it. It's very important to start. You have to have a safe haven. You have to be able to change your mindset. People be like, oh, money come, money go. Yeah, that's cool. But what are you going to leave your kids? Okay. If you're steady living from paycheck to paycheck, and everybody starts somewhere. Sometimes you got to get out a hole, you got to pay some bills or whatever, and you can't save right away. But it's about changing the mindset on it. Like, okay, let me get this paid off and then let me start. Even if it's $20, even if it's $50, it's like it's no excuse. Okay. If we just really go through our finances and see how much money we spend on dumb shit. Okay. My Amazon cart full now. Okay. But seriously, you know what I mean? Luckily, I'm in a space now to where I can do that. But there was a time where there was no Amazon, okay? There was no Sheen. We had to stop all of that. There was no new outfit every time I went out because I couldn't afford that shit, okay? um, but yeah, talking about that and just really working towards being the goal is financial freedom because when you control your money, nobody can control you. Um, yeah, go ahead, Baba. You go ahead and say a little bit on that.
So, as you were talking about changing the mindset, that's the biggest part of financial freedom, financial growth, uh, wealth building, right? So, there's a book I always have to reference to. I come back to it often. It's actually called Magnetic Millionaire: The Mental Blueprint to Financial Freedom, and it's by Dave Wong. So, as you were talking about the change in the mindset, there was a passage that I was looking at because you're changing the mindset for financial freedom is actually a part of psychology, right?
Yeah,
It says financial decision making under a growth mindset is driven by an openness to new strategies. So one, you have to be open to it first. Like
absolutely
you're like, well, I don't want to cut this off. You're not ready for it, right? So
right.
it's a willingness to learn from mistakes. If you can't take accountability, you're Xing yourself out, right? And the resilience to keep moving forward despite setbacks, right? This approach not only enhances one's financial acumen, but also cultivates a sense of fulfillment and confidence that transcends monetary success.
Mm. Come on
That
now.
was a mouthful.
Oh yeah, you can. I'm actually gonna tag that in the bottom too. Uh, magnetic millionaire. It was.
Yes, magnetic millionaire, the mental blueprint to financial freedom.
Okay, that's perfect. So if anybody is, in a space where you're wanting to, even if you got finances just sitting around, and we'll get into that about where to put the money. But I want to touch on generational wealth. I meet a lot of people, and unfortunately in the Black community we don't have a lot of that, and that's what we need. Okay, that's what we're talking about. We need more of this. We need to get to a point where we're passing down things to our kids, or when they graduate they have bank accounts and they have things that are going to sustain them. They're the other races, they have, when they get married, they giving them houses, they giving them whole baby.
Right.
They set for life. They got houses and stuff ready to build because their family left them that,
Right.
or leaving them stuff. We need that in our community. You know what I mean? It's People are not getting their kids ready enough for to be adults. Okay, it's like you're babying, you ain't taught them nothing about financial literacy, so they getting these jobs. Even when they're younger, they getting these jobs and they just spending it on whatever they want instead of putting that money up. All right, so
Yeah.
it's generational. Okay, so we need to break these generational cycles. You know what I mean,
Yes.
and pass
Agreed.
that literacy, so we can have that financial freedom as well, and pass down that generation, that generational wealth, because that is really something. You don't want everybody to be gone and they're still struggling. When I pass on, I want to be able to know that, my kids are going to be good, grandkids are going to be good. Like, but it starts with you. If you didn't have it before you, it starts now, it starts today, and it starts with the mindset. And then talking about having savings, and it just kind of just sitting in there. It just sitting in there, and yeah, you might get a little interest, but the interest rates go up and down. And believe you me, when your money is sitting somewhere, it don't matter where it's sitting, they're using your shit. Okay, they're
Oh
using
yes,
it
most
to
definitely.
invest in whatever they're investing in, whatever they doing, they using it. Okay, so don't be scared. So I just want, Baba, I wanted you to touch on, how important it is to have that life insurance, and then I'll speak on, the trust that I had came up on.
Okay, great, no problem. So to piggyback off what you said, building generational wealth is you have to start somewhere. You have to be willing to teach your kids. And like you said, money just sitting in a savings account, you might get the max 2%. Some might get 4% on a good day with a good bank, right? But
Mm,
your money isn't doing anything just sitting there. So, for example, if you do have a kid that is working or getting allowance, it can be so simple as putting aside 25 bucks a month, you know, taking that money, building it, and teaching them, hey, I withheld your money for a full year, 25 bucks a month. This is how much I saved up for you. So you're teaching them how to put their money back as little as $25, right? But then also, what would it be like for a family to be able to take that $25 and get a life insurance policy? As low as $25 to
mm,
where their money, the cash value, the interest is compounding interest, right? So you're getting compounding interest. So you're making money in your sleep,
mm.
right? So you are taking a step on building financial freedom. Your child, your children, your niece, nephew, whomever, even yourself, you're building financial freedom, generational wealth to the point where you are becoming your own bank. So let's say if you have $50,000 in your life insurance policy, you don't have to go to the bank because why? You are the bank. You borrow from yourself. And so life insurance has been around since 1913.
Brick.
A lot of these companies, we think about Walmart, Sam's that we go to frequently, Walt Disney World, they all started with a life insurance policy.
Mm. That's
Nike, the shoes and clothes that we wear, they have a life insurance policy. Because
mm,
that's like part of like the number one capital you can have is a life insurance policy. So if they trust that with life insurance policies to have their business, why are we as a people not getting a life insurance policy? And I can tell you partly why. Because most people, the mindset is, I'm not dying anytime soon. I'm still young, I'm healthy, but anything can happen. The key word of life insurance policy is life. Yeah, you get a death benefit, but you have money that builds inside. You can use it during your life span, you
right.
know? And and life and health insurance is really, according to David Wong, like that book has some nuggets, is it's foundational elements to wealth protection strategy. So all the things that you work hard for, why not get it protected? Why not protect your assets? Because it seems like to me sometimes people just want to work, 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 not protect their assets, and that means they're fine with just giving all their assets back to the government because that's where it's going to go.
Yeah, they don't, and people don't understand that. Even when you're well off and you got all this money sitting somewhere, anything could happen, and then they take that money right back. So you done all this work, you worked all these years, you got all this money in your savings account, you don't got no will. They taking that money right back. They like, oh, she ain't got nothing. Boom for the bank. Okay, we going on a trip.
Right back.
Or your hard earned money that you didn't work 30 and 40 years to get, and you ain't put it in no trust. You ain't, a lot of some people don't have family, you know what I mean, so they don't be having nobody to leave it to, but find somebody, damn it. Okay. Because
Yeah.
this is
You
just
know, and
to anybody.
I've honestly heard a lot of stories about people not having insurance or waiting too long because the key thing is why wait till you get older and start having health problems because that makes it harder for you. If you get it at a younger age, let's say if you get a policy at 15 for 200K, I'm just throwing out price $35 a month, right? You'll be paying $35 for the rest of your life unless you decide to get an additional life insurance policy, right? So the longer you wait, you have certain it's a certain amount because it goes by age brackets, and then if you have certain illnesses, then you get tabled differently, meaning you'll be paying a higher rate. So for somebody that may have high blood pressure, diabetes, or whatever health elements, the original price could be for a perfectly healthy person, maybe $70. But you have health conditions and older, you might be paying 150 for the same policy.
Yeah, but then, people are waiting too long and then they can't even get insurance because now they're already so sick that nobody wants to insure them. Okay. And
Uh, Unless they do a guarantee.
yeah,
A
and
guarantee,
wants to be
yeah.
selling fish dinners, babe. Nobody wants to be selling chicken dinners. We don't want to do that. Okay. We don't want to do that. No.
Look, I already said, don't call me with no GoFundMe. Don't call me and say no vegan plate, chicken platters. No, because when I come to you, like, hey, I can sit down and help you. Let's go over your finances. Let's go over your assets. Let's go over how much you need. Because some people don't know how much they need, and that's why one of the things that we do on the platform that I'm on is we do a FNA, which is called a financial needs analysis, where it sits down and goes over your budget, your spending habits, if you want to retire, short term, long term, all those things, right? And it gives you a picture of what you need if you're going to retire as well. And so we have, and once again, the mindset, oh, my 401k, let's not talk about that on this one. My 401k for retirement, I'm set. I got 300K. But 300K, if you're my age, 45, you retire at 65, and you want to get the retirement to like, your life expectancy, you might say 85, 90 for some people. That's not going to carry you over. 300K is going to be gone. 300K doesn't even have inflation. So it's good to sit down with an individual who has, we call ourselves life licensed financial professional. Okay,
Okay.
because it's more than just life insurance that I'm doing. When I say we, I'm part of a team, right? So it's more than just life insurance because we have to make sure everything is protected. But you have some people like, hey, I only need 25K. I need 150K because I have insurance over here. So this is what I'm looking for. But that's fine. But the average person just does not know. So they're guessing. So it's time for us to stop guessing.
And
Take the time to see what you need. Don't be afraid to share your financials because sometimes people are embarrassed. But guess what? I've been there. I had to sit through it. You know what I'm saying? Even when I didn't really have much, like it's an eye opener because it shows you what you need to work on. That's accountability, right?
yeah, and I think just overall, people need to stop getting shit that they can't afford. If you know
Oh,
that,
that's
if you
yeah.
know $60 is too much a month and you're not going to be able to keep that up, don't sign up for it. Because at the end of the day, if we're deleting bills, 10 to 1, the life insurance policy is going to be the first thing to go. But it's one of the most important, even though you don't think it is, it is. So if you can only sign up for $20, $30, sign up for $20, $30. Don't be trying to get $120 every month and you can't afford it if you're not financially there. Also, I want to talk about another aspect of putting money. Even there's options even where you don't have to do monthly like you were talking about. You're basically the bank. So if you have money sitting somewhere, you have the option to actually put it into a
Yes.
life insurance policy, and you can borrow out of it. I actually had just got. And first of all, if you want it, you have to ask for it. Okay, you got to pray
Yes.
about it, and those opportunities will come to you. But you have to want it. Okay, you have to ask for it if that's what you want.
Right.
Well, I asked God. I was like, God, tell me, what to do with the money. So and I got blessed. It came right to me, and I was able to, put my money in a policy, and now that money is there and it's building. And then also having the option to take some of the money, put it back in the bank, so that my money is making interest in both places. You know what I mean? So
Yes.
there's different ways. So what I got involved with was a smart lock. So that means the amount that I put in there is locked. So that amount of money is always going to be making money, whether I need $1,000, $2,000 tomorrow. I'm still going to be locked at that amount that I put in, and that's a great thing. It's actually YU Financial. I'm going to link it down, but I understand though. Some people, especially when you come, from struggle and stuff, you ain't really had much. You don't. You'd be like, move my money where? And we think the bank is the safest thing, but a lot of these insurance policies, the banks that they go through are the same banks that insure the banks. They're the motherfuckers behind the banks that when they insure the bank. So how can you lose? It's like you think your money is so safe in the bank, but if the bank crash, these people are the ones that's going to be, doing it. And and it was just me having to see that. But don't be scared. Like fear, it's not a fear. You can't be signing up for stuff in fear. You know what I mean? If you need to take some time, you need to go over, you need to pray about it. Yeah, do that. But don't be scared, because fear will paralyze you, and it will keep you stuck in the same place by not wanting to move, because you don't know about this. But it's time to learn, it's time to ask those questions, it's time to get out there. I'm sure Baba wouldn't mind, explaining and breaking things down to you, but you have to be open to the information, because there's so many different choices out there. Like I said, if you got some money just sitting, put it into an insurance policy, a smart line. That way you don't have to pay every month.
Mhm.
So it's not, you're not having to worry about paying every month. But it's just like, do what you can do when you can do it. Okay. Because everybody's different, everybody's situation is different. But the main goal is building generational wealth, being financially secure, and eventually having that financial freedom, to where if something goes,
Yes.
a job goes, COVID come back, can't go to work, you got that money to fall back on. Okay, I can go take 2K out of my, policy, and still be good. Nobody wants to.
Yes.
It's like the time of struggle is over. We need to let that struggle go. Okay, we know we don't want to be struggling. We don't want to be surviving. We want to be thriving. Okay, the time is to thrive. Nobody want to be robbing Peter to pay Paul, and robbing and to pay Ernie. Like we don't want to do that anymore. Okay.
Yeah, and we call it in the insurance world income protection. So if you lose the job, you have money, pull it out. You can use it for what you need to. Also, what some people don't realize is that some of these insurance policies have living benefits. So that's another form of income protection, to where if you get a chronic illness or critical illness, some of these insurance companies will pay out a certain percentage, so that you are able to live, pay your bills, still take care of your family. Because a lot of times when people get ill, that's the number one cause of people going broke or going into bankruptcy, is medical bills. Well, if you have a nice size insurance policy, that can help balance some of that blow that you're taking from different medical conditions. And that's one thing, once again, like I said, we have to understand that a life insurance policy is not about getting a death benefit, is how can I use my life insurance policy while I'm still living to get the things that I need in life to keep building financial literacy, you know, become wealthy, generational. Even if I want to have a business, right? I can dip into my life insurance policy because the money is there because I put so much into it. So it's a multi-use caveat, like a train with a lot of, caboose going.
Yeah.
Each caboose holds something different, and the train is always moving. So you have a start, right? You have caboose in the middle and you have
Mhm.
an end. So think about the beginning is your birth,
Mhm.
the ones in between is what you go through life, and the very last is death.
Mm. Okay, but we don't because the kids gonna be good when we go. But we
Yeah,
trying to
kid.
get a little money out while we're
Yeah,
here.
all right.
You don't
And
your whole life save it,
you
and then
should
you
be
got
able
to
to
die.
use it. You
Yeah,
should, yeah, you definitely should be able to use it while you're living, and it's not just a bill like you were saying earlier. Some people are like, oh, that's the first thing to go. True, but also to piggyback off of that, for the client being able to speak like, hey, I can't afford that. A great life insurance agent won't put a client into something they can't afford anyway.
absolutely. Because you're there to help. That's what people don't understand. They be like, oh, at the end of the day, this is going to help you. So help me help you. Because at the end of the day, it's for you.
Mhm.
So I also wanted to speak on gratitude. Okay, that came up, being grateful. So a lot of people are stuck in a place of always living in the past or living in the future instead of being present and being grateful for what you have now. So yes, a lot of us are not where we want to be, but a lot of us are also are not where the fuck we was. Okay, because I was counting
Yeah,
that pennies
yeah,
for Newports. Okay, so I know
mhm,
the struggle. Okay, but we're not there anymore. So sometimes it's about being present and being grateful for what you have, because in order to receive more, in order to open up those doors to opportunities, you have to be grateful for what you have. Sometimes you have to stop and smell the roses that's around you and stop worrying about the dead ones. Okay, they're dead and gone. They're not coming back. Okay, so smell the roses, enjoy the money you have now, enjoy the blessings you have now, and let God know that you are grateful. I'm grateful.
yes.
Okay? You got to be grateful. That's like if you find $50 on the floor, be happy. Maybe like, oh,
Yeah.
I found this 50, but I wish it was 100. Can you be grateful for the
Done missed the block already.
Exactly.
Done missed it.
You have to be in a space of gratitude, because if you're always in a space of lack, or I need or I don't have enough, like we said, it goes back to mindset. You cannot be stuck in a place of lack or not having, or always being scared, a scarcity mindset. You have to lose that
Yes.
scarcity mindset and know that the universe is always going to provide, and there is enough for everyone. Okay, we all can eat. So it's not about competition and all this. It's not about that. Really changing the mindset about how we're thinking, and each one teach one. We really need community. We really need this information out there. A lot of people want different, but they don't know where to start. So start here, okay? Start here today. Anything else you want to say, Baba?
Yes. One other thing that we have to be mindful of too, um, when going forward, because we tend to ignore inflation. We tend to ignore um, economic downturns, right? So
Hmm.
that's something that has to be administered or thought about in your long-term planning goals for retirement when it comes to looking at insurance. Um, you know, what I do is include at least 6%. So when you're looking at retirement, it might only be 3% inflation, but if we factor in, okay, 6%, you have a nice cushion going forward. So it's just different little things that have to be, thought about. And also knowing knowing your why. Why do I want this? Or why do I need this? Um, a lot of times the old saying is like the teacher will come when the student is ready, right?
Mhm.
But then sometimes the teacher can be there and the student is ready, but they don't want to hear from a particular teacher. So it can be somebody in the community that is really pushing the narrative, hey, we got to get it together because we're lacking. Other ethnicities, other races, they're already doing this.
Mhm.
And even when the market crashes, guess who's still making money?
The peoples.
People with life insurance policies and people who are in the insurance industry.
Mhm.
The
Absolutely.
bank are
It's
still
it's
making
so important.
money.
It's like if you're wanting we need more respect in the community. We need to respect each other's skills, skill set. All right. It's like, did you get the message? You're looking at the messenger, but did you get the message? Did you get the message that you were wanting? That you looking for this information, you overlooking certain people, your own people, because this is that, like I go back to the secret competition is the crabs in the bucket. We really have to lose that mentality and come together and unite to us, okay? Because people are we can't keep on complaining about the oppressor and then we are oppressing ourselves. Okay? The information is out there. It's there. You have to reach out. Okay? I know some of us that we didn't come from families. We don't got all these good people. We don't got but if I'm telling you, I am an example. If you ask, it shall be given. I ain't know shit about no credit, no trust, none of that. I prayed for it. It came to me. So like I said, it's not always about um the messenger. Sometimes it's about the message.
Yes.
It's very,
Is
very important.
is
We gotta
it's definitely it's definitely about the message. And I want to piggyback off of that because, I've always grown up in a family and an environment to where finances were talked about. In my 20s, my dad said, read this, passage, go get this book, go get this journal, make yourself, knowledgeable about this, and then we're gonna have a weekly assignment, right? So in my 20s, I'm like, I don't understand this. Like, I'm 25. I was one of those people, right? And so now that I'm older, 20 years later, it's like if I shoulda, woulda, coulda listened to what my dad said, I would have been a lot more well off than what I am with my own personal finances, with having uh be closer to a set amount for my financial goals, right?
Mhm.
But I didn't shoot myself anymore like I was. I'm like, well, dang, I'm like starting off late. You just have to start.
Yeah.
You have to be more aggressive with where you're putting your money. How are you spending your money? Am
Mhm.
I going to put up? And now with me having a 4-year-old daughter, I want her to be set. So, what does it look like me getting her an insurance policy? How much can I afford to put in it because she deserves more than what I'm going to have or what I have, right? So it's just looking at those whys. Why am I doing it? Where am I at personally, and where do I want to go? And but those fundamentals that I had growing up is carrying me over, whether it's from my dad being well with stocks and savings, and I have a cousin who's been in the insurance game for like a long time. I've always been around that, but guess what? I didn't really apply it. So that goes along with me having the teachers and
Right.
not taking in the information. So now I'm applying it because back in the day we said knowledge is power, but knowledge is not power if it's not applied.
If
You
you
have
don't
to
use
apply it.
it. Exactly. Because it's knowledge then needs to turn wisdom needs to turn I'm sorry, knowledge needs to turn into wisdom, and wisdom is when you're smart enough to use it. when you're smart enough to use the knowledge. Okay. A little tongue twister. But yeah, it takes a level of assertiveness. Like you got to be assertive. Like if you want something different, you have to understand that you control it. You know, you don't let outside or your past or anything around you control. If you want change, you have to be the one to step up and be assertive. It also takes self-discipline. You have to be disciplined when it comes to money. There's a space where you're going to be able to, treat yourself, because God don't want you just working and working and working and working until you die, and you ain't enjoyed nothing, you ain't went nowhere, you ain't did nothing for yourself. You just saving and working, saving and working, saving and working. Ain't even got time to spend the money. So no, that's not the life. But you have to be, you have to have that self discipline and want change, and have discipline in order to carry it out. Have to sit down and make that plan, make that year plan. What do I want my finances to look like? What do I
Yes.
want for myself? You have to get the plan and be assertive and do the shit. Okay, do it. Okay,
Right.
no more crabs in the bucket. No more robbing Peter to pay Paul. Uh, for real, it's
Enough of
it
that.
really it's time for something new. It's time for unity. It's time for community. Each one teach one, and that's why I do this, because somebody, whoever needs it, is going to get it. And they're going to get
Yeah.
this message. Okay, when it's
Yes.
needed. So um, that's it for me. If you got anything else you want to say, close us out.
Sure. So, I know that, I'm big on quotes and things of that nature. So I think that this would be a good closing statement to everything that we talked about today and what you just said. So a quote says, "The only limits to our realization of tomorrow will be our doubts of today."
Mm.
And that's by Franklin D. Roosevelt.
Say that again. We need to hear that one more time.
The only limits to our realization of tomorrow will be our doubts of today.
And that's it. You heard him. Go get them policies. So his information is going to be linked down, and yeah, check us out. Check them out and get your shit together. See you next time. Peace. Shop Essential Essence. Check out our manifestation candles as well as our other spiritual products to help become a better you.